$420 at the dealership, 3 visits, 2 different mechanics, and my truck still shook at every red light like it was about to stall out. On the 4th visit, the service advisor handed me a quote for $1,200 to diagnose the electrical system. That's when an older tech walked over, looked at the work order, and asked me one question. When's the last time anyone cleaned your throttle body? I had no idea what that even was. He shook his head. There's your problem right there. He fixed it in his break room with a $7 can of cleaner and 10 minutes of his time. That conversation cost the dealership $1,200 in work they were about to charge me for. It also rewired how I think about every mystery, rough, idle problem, and why shops never mention the simple fix first. That's what this video is about. Today, we're going through 6 things the repair industry doesn't want you to figure out on your own. The real reason your engine idles rough, the carbon trap nobody warns you about, the exact 10-minute method that fixes it, the 3 mistakes that ruin the job, the relearn step most people skip, and exactly who profits every time you hand over your keys for a diagnostic. By the end of this, you'll never panic at a rough idle again. Let's get into it. The rough idle lie. Here's what nobody tells you when your engine starts shaking at stoplights. That rough idle is almost never the catastrophic failure your dashboard wants you to believe it is. No check engine light? Doesn't matter. Modern engines can idle like a paint mixer and never throw a single code, because the computer doesn't measure smoothness. It measures fuel trims, oxygen levels, misfire counts. A rough idle from carbon buildup sits just under every one of those thresholds. The engine knows something's wrong. The computer can't prove it, so you sit there at the red light, hands on a steering wheel that's vibrating like a massage chair, convinced you need a new engine. The repair industry loves this exact moment. Because when you walk into a shop and say, "My car idles rough," you've just handed them an open-ended diagnostic ticket. Could be coils, could be injectors, could be the mass airflow sensor, could be a vacuum leak, could be the catalytic converter. Each one of those is a separate test, a separate part, a separate line item on your invoice. And in 70% of cases on engines with more than 60,000 miles, none of them are the actual problem. The actual problem is something they could fix in 10 minutes for under $10. So they don't mention it first. The carbon trap. To understand why your engine idles rough, you have to understand what is happening inside your intake right now. Every gasoline engine has a part called the throttle body. It sits between your air filter and your engine, and it is basically a metal tube with a flap inside. When you press the gas pedal, that flap opens and lets more air into the engine. When you let off, it closes down to a tiny gap, just enough air to keep the engine running at idle. Here is where the trap closes. Every engine recirculates oil vapors and combustion gases back through the intake. It is called the PCV system, positive crankcase ventilation, and it is required by emissions law. Those vapors carry microscopic oil droplets and carbon particles. Over thousands of miles, they coat the inside of your throttle body in a thick, gummy, black sludge. The flap still opens fine when you are driving, but at idle, when that flap is barely cracked open, even a millimeter of carbon buildup chokes the airflow. Now your engine is trying to idle on the wrong amount of air. The computer compensates by adjusting fuel. Fuel adjustment goes wrong. Idle gets rough. You feel it in the steering wheel, in the seat, in the brake pedal. And the entire problem is a layer of black gunk you could wipe off with a rag. On engines past 60,000 miles, this buildup is almost guaranteed. On direct injection engines, it is worse because the cleaning agents in gasoline never touch the intake side. By 80,000 miles, your throttle body looks like the inside of a chimney, and nobody at the oil change place has ever mentioned it to you. Why would they? You will be back in a year wondering why your engine feels weird. The 10-minute method. Here is exactly what you do. Total cost, under $15. Total time, about 10 minutes. You will need 1 can of throttle body cleaner, specifically labeled throttle body cleaner, not carburetor cleaner, and not brake cleaner. Throttle body cleaner is safe on the sensors and coatings inside modern intakes. The other cleaners are not. CRC and Barry Mann both make versions for around $7. You will also need a clean rag, a Phillips screwdriver, and maybe a 10mm socket depending on your car. Open your hood. Follow the big black plastic tube that comes off your air filter box. At the end of that tube, you will find a metal or plastic housing about the size of a soda can. That is your throttle body. There is a clamp or a couple of bolts holding the intake tube to it. Loosen them. Pull the tube back. You will see a round opening with a metal flap inside. If that flap and the walls around it look black, oily, or carbon-coated, you just found your rough idle. Engine off. Cold. Spray the throttle body cleaner directly onto the flap and the walls around it. Gently push the flap open with your finger and spray the backside too. The carbon will start dissolving and dripping down into the intake. That is fine. Your engine will burn it off on the next drive. Take your clean rag and wipe out everything you can reach. Spray it again. Wipe again. Keep going until the metal looks like raw aluminum and the flap moves smoothly. Reattach the intake tube. Tighten the clamps. Close the hood. You are done with the physical work, but you are not done yet. This next step is where 90% of people mess it up. The relearn step nobody mentions. If your car was built after about 2005, your throttle body is electronic. There is no cable from your gas pedal to that flap. Anymore, it is all computer controlled. The computer has been compensating for your dirty throttle body for years. It learned exactly how far to open the flap at idle to get the right airflow through all that carbon. Now you have cleaned it out. The same flap position that used to give you correct airflow is suddenly giving you way too much. The result is your idle is now high, hunting, surging, or stalling completely. This is why so many people clean their throttle body, see the problem get worse, and conclude they made a mistake. They did not. The computer just needs to relearn. The basic relearn procedure works on most vehicles. Turn the key to the on position, but do not start the engine. Wait 3 seconds. Turn it off. Wait 10 seconds. Start the engine. Let it idle for at least 5 minutes without touching the gas. The computer is recalibrating in real time. After 5 minutes, drive normally for about 10 more minutes with varied throttle. Some vehicles have specific relearn procedures that you can find by searching your year, make, and model, plus the words throttle body relearn. It takes 30 seconds to look up. After the relearn, the engine settles into the smoothest idle it has had in years. Most people describe it as feeling like a new car again, because functionally it kind of is. The 3 mistakes that ruin the job. First mistake, spraying carburetor cleaner or brake cleaner instead of throttle body cleaner. The chemicals in those are too aggressive and can damage the protective coating on the throttle plate and the rubber seals inside. Use the right can. It is labeled clearly. Second mistake, cleaning a hot engine. Throttle body cleaner is flammable. The intake gets hot. You do not want to find out what happens when those two meet. Cold engine, every time. Third mistake, forcing the flap open when the key is on. The motor controlling that flap is delicate. If the ignition is on, the computer is actively trying to hold the flap in a specific position. If you push against that motor, you can strip its gears. Key out, ignition off, then move the flap with your finger. Who benefits? Remember the question from the beginning. Who profits when you do not know about this fix? 3 groups, 3 different angles. Profits. Dealership service departments charge between $150 and $300 for an induction service or throttle body service. The actual labor takes a technician 10 minutes. The materials cost them under $5. The rest is pure margin on your ignorance. Independent shops are usually better, but plenty of them upsell coils, spark plugs, and injector services for rough idles that would be solved by cleaning the throttle body first. Upsell. Parts manufacturers benefit when you replace a perfectly good mass airflow sensor for $180 because someone told you it was probably bad. They benefit when you swap ignition coils that had nothing wrong with them. They benefit every time a rough idle gets misdiagnosed as something expensive. Parts. Dealerships benefit on the biggest scale of all because eventually a frustrated owner trades in a car that just needed a $7 can of cleaner. They sell it to the next person at retail. They sell the original owner a new vehicle. The rough idle never actually existed as a real problem. It was a maintenance item disguised as a catastrophe. Dealerships. Here is exactly what to do right now. If your engine has over 60,000 miles and idles rough at stoplights, pop the hood and look at your throttle body before you book any appointment. Grab a $7 can of throttle body cleaner from any auto parts store. Set aside 10 minutes this weekend. With the engine cold, key out, intake tube off, spray, wipe, reattach. Then do the relearn procedure. 5 minutes idling, 10 minutes driving. That is the whole method, right now. If carbon was the cause, you will feel it within the first 30 seconds of that idle. The shaking stops. The steering wheel goes still. The seat stops vibrating. That is a $400 fix you just did for the cost of a sandwich. What does your engine do at red lights right now? Drop it in the comments. Smooth, shaky, or surging, I will tell you exactly what to check next.